everybody to this masterclass of this month. I want to talk about structure and about tension today. However, I also thought it would be a good idea to just have a little recap about what we spoke about last month, because it's been a while ago. And so a little refresher. I will share my screen. Can everybody see this? Yeah. So we spoke last month about how to befriend our nervous system, and how you can use the different structures that your nervous system can be in to create and move beyond fear, basically. And we spoke about how you basically have two different structures. You have like your higher pathway, or your thrive neural pathway, and your lower pathway. And your lower pathways are really your survive pathways that are here to keep you safe. Now, we're all hardwired for safety and survival. So it can be quite challenging to overcome these survive pathways. But this is what my work is about, how we can become and create more awareness around these pathways. And eventually this creates choice and can help you to move beyond. So we spoke about that we're all born creators, and we consciously create our reality from moment to moment, either unconsciously using our survive pathways or consciously using our thrive pathways. And my work is all about creating more awareness around from which pathways you're actually creating your reality. And then we also spoke about the cycle of change, which is really quite important just to repeat again, because this is basically the cycles that you go through when you are growing and expanding. And you can see here that it always starts with being optimistic about your vision and taking steps towards what you really love to create. However, then resistance comes in, and this always comes in, and this is actually really natural, because your nervous system simply does not know yet that what you want to create is safe. So by knowing how resistance shows up in your life uniquely, you can actually overcome it and use resistance as fuel to create, to eventually move to stage 4, where you are informed optimistic and where you can grow and expand. Now, I'm not going to really go in details, but basically what we want to do is that we want to create awareness, and awareness of the different states of your nervous system and what you are in actually creates choice. And when you have a choice, that means that you're actually how do you say it, exercising your free will. So we, as humans, we've all been gifted with free will, but I would say that most of us, maybe 95%, don't really exercise this inner technology in a way that we've been gifted of free will, because we are just so stuck in survive pathways. And let me see if there's anything else. So basically, the question is, who is in control of your life? Are you stuck in a survive zone where you really actually don't have any choice and you're creating the same reality, the same old reality, or staying in your comfort zone? And of course, I know all about those zones because I've been stuck in those for decades. And also you're very, I was, you know, from the outside, you wouldn't really know. So we have developed a lot of different ways to mask those survive pathways. They're very cunning. And of course, ultimately, you want to be in the thrive zone where you are able to grow and expand and really live, really express what your heart is longing for. Because I feel that we are all, this is the nature of life, is that we are always moving towards balance and completion. Like even when you look at your body, our body is always moving towards homeostasis. And this is a natural principle. So in our mind, we're also always longing to move towards balance. And that means that we are connecting with those parts of us that have been denied or alienated or stuck. So this is actually a really natural progress, is to grow and expand, like everything in nature does. And if we don't, often it is because your mind is actually blocking it. But that's also good news, because that means that you can overcome this structure. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Did anybody have some questions? Marielle, did you have some questions about last month masterclass, or Viswai, about this, what we spoke about?
No, it's nice that you repeat it now, because then I thought, oh yeah, I get this. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, so what we're going to shed some more light on today is about structure, and that a nervous system is also a certain structure, and that you can always change and upgrade this structure.
That's a nice thing from this diagram, actually, just that it's just clear. It really helps me identify what zone I'm in. And I just know if I'm in stuck zone, my thinking just is way more limited and way less stuck or survive. And then comfort, I just get a bit lazy. And then thrive, I already notice when my brain's in that mode. I sleep better, I think better, I work better.
Yes, yes. And then you start to become aware, like, hey, somehow my nervous system is responding in a certain way. But we also learn how to self-regulate and become more self-aware. And these are the tools that that's part of our inner technology that we've been gifted, and that we all have as humans, that we want to, we want to strengthen those thrive neural pathways, that inner technology. Okay, so we have the themes for today that I wanted to talk about. That is very my work is they're very foundational to my work, and they're actually natural and timeless principles. So you're going to see that those principles you can see anywhere in nature, and of course they're also express in us as well. And Robert Fritz is somebody that he wrote a book about it. And if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper into this material, I can recommend his books. It's called The Path of Least Resistance. And he says, once a structure exists, energy moves through. Oh, there's an extra T there. It's not supposed to be there. Energy moves
You need
through.
to change the screen, Liv. It's it's stuck on the who's in control.
Okay, I'm going to yeah, that's always a little bit challenging. So I'm going to put this one here. Okay. Can you see it now?
No, you need to stop sharing and then do a new share.
Oh, I'm screen sharing, it says. Okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
Okay, this one. Here we go. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Robert Fritz says, once a structure exists, energy moves through that structure by the path of least resistance. In other words, energy moves where it's easiest for it to go. So the themes I want to highlight for today are structure has integrity, and tension seeks resolution, and it always follows the path of least resistance. Now, anything in life has an underlying structure, and this structure is made up of different elements that either relate to each other or not. And a structure always determines the outcomes and its function. For example, if you're looking at like a joint, for example, like your elbow has a certain structure, and that means that the movement, the energy that flows through that structure when we're moving it determines the outcome. You can flex or extend your arm. And another example is that, for example, our brain and our nervous system, the structure of our brain and nervous system is designed to receive universal intelligence from above down. And and it's designed to express that universal intelligence through us from the inside out. And when I say the underlying structure is made up of elements that relate to each other or not, I mean that when you, for example, have a nervous system that is designed to express receive universal intelligence and express it, if there are parts of that structure that is not communicating with the whole, that changes the outcome and the behavior. For example, if there's parts of you that are stuck in the past because of a trauma, so that part of you is basically not connected with your brain, that means that energy can't flow, that part of you doesn't communicate with the whole, and that means that energy that flows through that structure is going to be bypassing that part of you, and that means that the outcome and the behavior is different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the structures that have the most effect on our lives are the unseen structures of our beliefs, our emotions, and our thoughts. And the second theme is that tension always seeks resolution, and it follows the path of least resistance. Now, you can also replace the word tension with energy. And this is a fundamental principle that underlies my work, and actually our work as chiropractors as well. Because both our minds and bodies constantly navigate tension, resolution, structural dynamics. And I'm going to dive deeper into it so you start to understand how those principles work. Now, the premise for today, and the premise is really a working condition that we are using for today, is that we are born creators and we are continuously creating our experienced reality from moment to moment from different neural structures. You can either resolve tension unconsciously using your survive neural structures, and the outcome that you create, the behavior and outcome is that you're always creating the same reality. You're staying stuck or you're oscillating. We're going to dive deeper into that as well. Or you resolve tension or energy consciously using the structures of your thrive neural pathways. And by becoming aware of those pathways, this opens up choice. So awareness is key, and awareness brings choice. And the end results for today is that I hope that you will discover what the different structures are that you're creating your reality from. You're either stuck, you're oscillating, or you're in a flow structure. And that you are eventually being able to recognize the nervous system structure that you use predominantly. And you create the awareness of the unique ways that you resolve tension. Now, the natural principles that govern this work are that we are part of nature. Now, often we don't really realize that anymore because we have a mind and we have often we feel really separate from anything nature, but we eventually have to abide to timeless and natural principles. For example, the principle of gravity is that when you fly in an airplane, you might temporarily overcome this principle of gravity, but when the motor stops working, you will fall down. So those principles, they're always there, and if you are more aware of them, then they can support you in your natural growth. And if you work against them, then you notice that you will feel stuck. And of course, by not understanding them or opposing them, they will eventually work against you. And so here, for example, I really love the Fibonacci sequence here, which is actually a structure that nature uses. You can see it everywhere in nature. And this allows for a natural growth cycle. And does anybody know the Fibonacci sequence? Yeah. So it's basically you start with one, and then that makes two, and then you add up the last two numbers, and then you have a three. So you keep adding up the last two numbers basically, and this will eventually show itself in a natural growth spiral basically. And this is a structure that's really clearly underlies all in nature, everything in nature. So once a structure exists, it will continue to hold and perform its designed function and behavior until the underlying structure is changed or upgraded. So this is basically what structural integrity means. It means that the structure has a certain integrity, and that will maintain itself until it collapses, or you can change it or upgrade it. And a structure is always made up of elements that relate to each other in a specific way. For example, our nervous system is made up of different structures. We have our brain, we have different cells, we have also our spinal column, we have bones. They all different structures, but they all relate together, and they all form and make up a whole. And of course, as chiropractors, we increase the structural integrity of the nervous system, and this will change the behavior. You have less pain, you have better movement, you feel more connection with yourself or others, your digestion increases. And so once a structure exists, tension always resolves itself along this pathway, because tension is innate to life. And it can be challenging to change a structure. You need enough available energy. You need courage, will, and determination, because when you are, for example, when we're talking about neural pathways, you've been resolving tension or energy along a certain neural pathway, eventually that becomes a habit, creating certain thoughts, creating emotions, and creating certain behavior. And to change that pathway can be quite challenging. But the first thing is, of course, to become aware of it. And you also need enough available energy to change the structure. Now, there's one topic I want to go to dive into, because that will explain a little bit what I'm talking about, and how this tension can resolve in different ways. And basically, you have a fast brain and you have a slow brain. And your fast brain is related to your survive pathways, and your slow brain is related to your thrive pathways. And basically, they are two ways through which the amygdala can be triggered. So your fast and your lower brain pathways, I call them, they are reactive. And they go really quickly from the thalamus to the amygdala, and then you respond. So I always, oh, wait a second. So I always have to think about like a reflex. If you tap your reflex hammer on a tendon, you basically respond, but it doesn't go through your conscious neural pathways. So reactive pathways are basically lower pathways, and these pathways are designed to keep you safe. So it goes really quickly to the amygdala, and most often they are unconscious and reactive. This is your fast brain, and your slow brain pathway resolves tension from the thalamus, and it goes to the prefrontal cortex first before it goes to the amygdala. And this is, we call the reflective pathways. So here you have time to reflect. And of course, the structures that you use mainly are creating vastly different outcomes. When you, in your fast brain, in your lower pathways, in your survive pathways, you basically act spontaneously and impulsively. And the slow brain is linked to more evolved and newer structures, your prefrontal cortex. And this allows you to act with awareness, intention, basically overwiring your fast brain responses. Here we are able to self-regulate and become self-aware. And these are the pathways that we want to strengthen. And this is, of course, what we are going to learn to do with the Adjust Your Mind process. And here's a little picture of it, so you can know it a little bit here. So we have our fast brain, which is our lower and survive pathways, and our slow brain is our higher and thrive pathways. And we all have this innate technology. We call this inner technology. We are born with this. It's just that most of us really just stay in this lower fast brain pathways, where you're constantly like reacting to your environment, it's like a knee-jerk reaction, and you're not responding in a reflecting way, but in a reactive way. And of course, the work is all about that we start to connect with those higher pathways, our higher brain, because when we are connected with this higher brain, we actually open up choice. We open up perspectives. We can see more than one perspective, and we are able to choose and really step into into that, our higher potential, expressing our higher potential. That's what we are all about. The fast and reactive brain is basically our unconscious mind, and it's triggered when we perceive a threat. Now, it depends on your energy state and your self-awareness you either respond by engaging your sympathetic nervous system, so you're in fight flight, or you reside to freeze or shut down. And this again, this depends on your energy stage, which survive pathway you reside in, where you respond from. It's often focused on past emotional memories, short-term goals, habits, and limiting beliefs. And while you're in this survive fast pathway, it shuts down learning, growth, and curiosity. And on the other hand, your slow and reflective brain gives you the ability to become the observer, broaden your perspective, think more logically and creatively, and seeing things with more wisdom and clarity. And then eventually the job of your slow brain, your thrive neural pathway, is to challenge and correct your fast brain. But now you have a choice. So the different structure types that that we can reside to, and that is also part of is linked to our nervous system, is you can either be in a dynamic flow, and when you're this is of course the structure that you want to be in most of the time. Like in like a functional, if your nervous system is regulated, you can switch from a thrive state into a survive state when there is a real threat. So for example, when you are, I think I used that example last time, like for example, when you are, say you wake up in the morning and you had a really great sleep and you feel really rested and connected, and you're making a cup of tea and you're preparing to go to work, and you're actually in a thrive state, I would say, in a relaxed and open state, and you're driving on the highway on your way to your work, but then all of a sudden you experience a near accident. A car just didn't see you. You were in their blind spot, and they cut you off, and you know it's like, oh my God, and then you need to respond fast. So in this moment, it's really great that it doesn't go through your conscious brain, your response, because you don't have time to think like, oh, you know, how am I going to, you know, do this? No, you quickly respond without thinking. It's like a reflex. So you might go into like a fight flight state, and then after that, you might get maybe a little bit angry, or you might even go into a shutdown where you go in shock. That depends again a little bit on how much energy you have in your system. But when your nervous system is regulated, you notice that you go back into your thrive zone by the time you arrive at work. So here we're talking about a regulated, self-aware, healthy nervous system. So you know, at that moment when there was a real threat, it kept you safe. And then and that's what it's designed to do. But of course, most of us are stuck in a survive pathway 24/7, and then it becomes dysfunctional. So this is the dynamic flow, is the structure where the outcome is that you grow and expand. When you're in a stuck survive pathway, the outcome is that there is little or no change or growth. And when you're oscillating, you're in an oscillating structure. That means that you often move towards something that you love and then away. So this is typically an I can, I can't. Also, sometimes you can relate it to the deer in the headlights. So you're basically you are kind of in a freeze, but you still have enough energy in your system. So you still have that energy to move towards something and away, but eventually you're not really progressing because you're in an oscillating system. And these are all linked to nervous system pathways. So when you recognize one of those flows in your own life, know that you are most likely stuck in a nervous system structure. So the oscillating structure is really designed to keep you safe, and often you are in your comfort zone. You do have enough available energy to move to a different state, but you don't know how. And here you move towards something and move away. Or sometimes you cannot hold on to it. Like you have a relationship that you put a lot of energy in, and then you lose it, or even a business or your health. Often people see this with dieting. People that want to go on a diet, they go on it, and then they fall back in old patterns. It can repeat itself endlessly. And nothing will change if you're not aware of the structures. So I call this an oscillating pendulum. So here the pendulum is actually, like purposely designed to oscillate. So sometimes structures are purposely, like for example, a rocking chair is also designed to oscillate. But if you are in a nervous system structure that oscillates, of course, then it becomes dysfunctional. And the stuck structure is also a nervous system structure. I went into it a little bit more deeper in the previous masterclass, so I'll brush over it a little bit quicker. But they are specifically designed to keep you safe in staying stuck. And this is basically your dorsal vagal pathway. And like I mentioned last month as well, this is a pathway that I resigned to keep me safe, and where you get completely like disassociated from everything around you. And it's generally an energy poor state, so you don't have enough available energy in your system. You're using all the energy just to keep your basic functions going. And of course, the dynamic flow structure, here your thrive neural pathways are online. So you're connected with that part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex. The slow and reflective brain pathways. You feel calm, connected, intuitive, and creative. And you're mostly in a flow state. In this state, you can hold more than one perspective. And this means that you have a choice now. And you have the choice to be of service to your own highest good and that of all living beings. The ability here is that you can self-regulate, and there is an increased self-awareness. Now, before we move on to the second theme, I just want to open up for anybody that has some, like, what is landing? Like, what is landing now? What are you taking away from this?
Well, actually, the awareness that these different states, like either stuck, thrive, or oscillating, that there are, the awareness that you can actually change them because they are related to a certain part in the brain. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, also what landed for me is when I get into the lower reactive brain, that I just have to manage my energy. That's probably a really big thing I've learned from all this work from you, actually, is that, because sometimes you just get into that reactive lower brain when you're struggling with stuff, and then energy management has just become a great tool to get into, whether it's just force myself to exercise because you've got no available energy, but then you just stay stuck. But if I just move my body, exercise, do a fast, something that manages my energy levels, or make sure I get really disciplined with my sleep routine and my screen use before bed, and just having a good bedtime routine, and it only takes me about a week, really, if my energy is really out of whack from stress. It just takes me a week of energy management, and then I notice I have more than one perspective, actually, as opposed to this quick thing, I come back into just a lot more of a slow brain. I really feel it in my mind when I manage my energy. But if I don't manage my energy, and if I drink alcohol or eat too much or don't exercise or have a poor sleep routine, it's just I really struggle to come out of it. But like Marielle said, it's just so nice to know that, because you think you've got all these problems, but actually it's very empowering to know this stuff, because your body works quite biochemically and physiologically, and you can really manipulate your state just by managing my energy levels.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like energy is really the currency of the universe, actually. So it's so important to really nourish your energy source. And of course, the more you feel, the more you are connected with universal intelligence, the more connected you are with source, that energy source, the more you're actually able to receive that. I realized from my own experience that it's often a matter of receiving, like, because I feel we have all access to an unlimited energy source, all of us. Like, it doesn't judge or give more to one over the other, but really your ability to receive that energy is comes down to the state of your nervous system. Yeah, so that is, thank you for that. That's a really important part. Great. Well, now we get into the second theme.
Can I ask a question?
Oh,
can I ask a question
about
actually just what Visma said? Like, yeah, I recognize that you can actually, by changing your energy state, move from the stuck to the oscillating state. But do you have the idea also, Visma, that you can do that from the oscillating to the highest, to the thrive state? Because I think that's, for me, that feels very different. I can't. I think, well, I can't. I mean, I'm oscillating. I can't. But yeah, I mean, that's quite abstract to me, to change the, yeah.
Yeah, I notice it goes quite slowly with me, actually. So I don't, if I move and really manage my energy in a disciplined way, I tend to not oscillate from that point. I just don't. My brain just doesn't do that, actually. But if I do it too short, but I'm always really aware of, I've had a lot of stress. I just really manage myself for at least a week or 10 days. I really do. And I'm just really consequential in that, because there's just so much on the line with running a practice and having energy for people. So I just can't afford not to have my energy right, because everybody will feel it, and people won't, the universe just won't send people to me, I guess. But once I'm changed back into my slow brain, I literally feel my mind really slowing, and all the problems that I thought I had the previous week, even though nothing's changed externally, it's all a bit more reflective. Like Jyoti said, it's not so reactive anymore. And I like that, because my reactive brain can be really harsh on itself, just really harsh self-talk. Whereas when I get into my reflective brain, it's a bit like, okay, the problems exist, but we can, this will work out. It all turns out in the end. And my whole self-dialogue just gets a lot more gentle, but then it doesn't so quickly revert or oscillate. It just doesn't tend to do that so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and
even though it is abstract.
Marielle. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marielle, I can speak to that as well. That your nervous system does actually work hierarchically. So, for example, if you perceive a threat that is potentially life-threatening, so a really intense threat, and that can be a real threat, but most often it's a perceived threat. It's like it's not real. Then you say you reside to dorsal. Say you just picture a ladder, right? So dorsal is the oldest pathway that your nervous system developed to keep you safe. So that dorsal pathway. So a lot of us move to that one, and then in order to move back up to your Thrive pathway, you actually have to go through the different stages. So often people that are, for example, healing and they are in dorsal, they have to go through fight flight first. Stuck is a little bit of a detour where stuck is actually sympathetic and dorsal equally 50-50. So you don't always go through stuck, but if you're in dorsal, you can either go, you have to go to fight flight first, but you see dorsal is the least amount of energy. Fight flight is a little bit more energy. It's energy neutral, I would say. And thrive is energy rich. That's the top. So you do go through different states. So for example, somebody that has been depressed and has been in dorsal and they're actually healing, they're on their way back home, they're healing, they might experience a period where they feel really anxious or angry, or, you know, but they're in that more kind of fight flight state. But that's actually a really natural way to go back to thrive. Does that make sense? So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, makes sense.
All right. So the second theme is that tension always seeks resolution and it follows the path of least resistance. Now, let's see. Yeah. So for example, you can see tension resolution structures at play anywhere and everywhere. Once you start to become aware of this natural principle, you can see it, you can feel it in your body, you can feel it you can see it in nature, you can even feel it in between people. So there is simple tension resolution structures and more complex one, and I'm going to explain a little bit more how they work out. The complex structures, they're structures that compete with each other, and they always lead to a structural conflict. Now, like I said, both your body and mind constantly navigate tension resolution dynamics, and inherent tension, that's how I use it in the Adjust Your Mind method. When you're aware of it, you can use it as fuel to fuel your creative process. Now, basically, tension or energy is always resolved either unconsciously in favor of safety and avoiding pain, or consciously in favor of creating something new that is aligned with your purpose and vision. Now, in nature, for example, you can see this tension resolution playing out really beautifully. You have the rice fields in Bali, where from the mountains you have the water that come up, and the water has higher energy, and because it's on the top of the mountain, and it follows the path of least resistance along the rice beds to eventually flow into the ocean. So this is a tension resolution system that you can see in nature. And in fact, all of life started with a big bang. So that is created a huge tension. And we are, in fact, all the result of sexual tension that resolved itself. So tension or energy is inherent to life, and we actually need tension to create. Now, I like this as an example because this is a simple tension resolution structure, and that you can see in, for example, a conversation. How are you? Builds up a tension. I'm good, thanks. And now you resolve the tension. And then you can build up another tension again, like, and how are you? Tension. I'm good, thanks. Resolve the tension. So these are, in between people, you have tension resolution systems at play. And this is like a simple, quite a straightforward tension resolution example. Anybody else can give an example?
I need to go to the toilet.
Something, yeah, yes, exactly. I was thinking about that. You have to go to the toilet, you build up tension, and then you go to the toilet and you, yeah, that's a simple tension resolution structure. And it is a functional one. However, when two simple structures start to compete, they become dysfunctional. And this is what most people are in, and this is what causes you to stay in an oscillating structure or in a stuck structure. I would say these are the result of a nervous system structure that you are in. These are the outcomes. And when you're in a structure that forms, that two structures that compete with each other, they form like a structural, how would say it, a problem in a way. It's always an unconscious structure that competes with the first one. They're both connected, but they cannot be resolved simultaneously. For example, you have a desire to publicly speak on stage. That's a desire, and you want to resolve that. But at the same time, you also have a limiting belief that you are incapable. So that means that you can't actually resolve both tensions at the same time. So when you attempt to resolve one tension, which is your desire, you deny the other and increase tension within the other system. So
Jyoti, I don't mean to interrupt, Liv, but I actually have to go. So I'm so sorry.
Sure.
But starting in a few minutes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks for joining.
See you on the next call. Ciao, guys. Bye, Maria. Bye, Simona.
Bye.
So, so here, this they form a complex relationship, and they hold each other in check. The outcome is always that you oscillate or stay stuck. I'm going to explain a little bit deeper, because it can be quite a tricky one to understand. Here it is. Two simple tension resolution structures that compete. So here you resolve tension in favor of your limiting beliefs along the lower survive pathway. And this is the unconscious, this is an unconscious structure, basically. So you have an inherent desire, you want something. So we always want something, right? Like we are born with a heart, and also we are born to really become whole again, and to connect with those parts of us that have been, that have been stuck in the past. So that, and that's often, so our visions, something that we want, is based on something that we missed in the past. So we are longing to complete ourselves. So we actually always desire something. Most of us don't really know anymore what we really want, but most of us ultimately want something. So say you know what you want, and you take steps towards your vision, which is basically, so you're here in your present reality on the A side, and you go towards your vision. So you're basically increasing the gap between your current reality, your present reality, and your vision, because you're taking steps away from that. So you're increasing the tension there. But if you're not aware of this structure, the unconscious tension will then always resolve back along the path of least resistance, which in this case is towards sustaining your limiting belief. So once this tension is resolved, the gap between you and your vision increases. And of course, this will resolve in moving towards your vision again. So this means that you keep resolving tension towards one and the other. One way that I sometimes explain it is just imagine that you're standing in the middle of the room and you have an elastic band, a really big elastic band tied on one side of the wall, and a big elastic band tied on the other side of the wall, and they wrapped around your waist, and you're standing in the middle. Now, one side of the wall is your vision, and one side of the wall is your current reality. So by you moving towards your vision, you basically increase the tension in between you and your present reality. But if you're not aware of it, that tension will resolve towards the other side of the wall, increasing the tension between you and your vision. And then you want to move back to your vision again. And then you move back to your current reality again. So this is how you resolve tension. If you're in a limited structure, basically two structures that compete with each other. And this can keep you stuck or oscillating for forever. And the adjust your mind structure is basically designed to resolve tension towards your vision. So this is a new structure, and here, that's the great thing with structure, is that you can always change your structure. And I'm going to end this webinar with a quote from Buckminster Fuller, that if a structure becomes obsolete, then you just simply change the structure. So this is something, we have something like neuroplasticity. So our brain is really highly neuroplastic. We can always change the structure. And the adjust your mind structure is designed to resolve tension towards our vision. And the outcomes will be growth and expansion. This structure basically has a high level of tensegrity. And tensegrity is a term that is coined also by Buckminster Fuller, which is one of my heroes. And this structure can actually withstand forces such as resistance, because resistance is really big. As we know, our survive pathways, we're so hardwired for safety. Like it is really quite challenging to overcome these. And that's why I really wanted to create also this community, because you need a really supportive community actually to keep you in check. And basically, this is the what we do with the adjust your mind method, is that you have your present reality here on the left, and then you have a really clear vision of where you want to go, and you're taking steps towards your vision. However, if you're not aware of the resistance and those limiting beliefs, you actually resolve tension towards the lower pathway, which will always stay with sustaining those beliefs. But the tension between the two is actually what we need to create. Sometimes I explain it as, okay, so you're here now, this is your current reality, and you want something, and that is not where you are now, and this is somewhere different. This increases the tension between the two, right? But if you're not aware, so what most people do to resolve tension, because tension is really uncomfortable. Most of us don't really like tension. I've surely never really liked tension. For example, I always seek to resolve tension towards my lower pathway, avoiding pain and avoiding, for example, in between people even, you have a certain tension, somebody says something and you actually don't really agree, but instead of saying like, hey, I actually see this differently because this creates tension, I would most likely agree with that person earlier on, like in the past. Now I know how to handle tension, and now I know that it's really important to sit in the tension that we need tension to create. And I'm actually resolving tension towards the higher pathway. So what most people do is that you've got your current reality and you've got your vision. So we're very good in upping our current reality. So for example, oh, I'm actually not so, so and so is much worse off than me. I shouldn't complain. I've got so many good things as well. So you're not really, you're kind of denying where you are at now. So you're upping your current reality. And what a lot of people do to resolve tension is actually lower the vision. So instead of going for the Tesla, you go for an electrical bike, for example, because you say, oh, maybe a Tesla is a little bit over the top, and maybe other people will really judge me when I'm driving a Tesla, and then they see that I'm making a lot of money. I don't really like that, so I'm going to buy an electrical bicycle. It's a lot better. So you basically lower the tension, and what you do then, current reality and vision live on the same spectrum. So that means that there's no tension and no creation. What we do with this, with the Adjust Your Mind method, is that we first become really aware of where we are at now. So becoming aware of your limiting beliefs, becoming aware of your the ways that you resist change, becoming really self-aware. That's basically the key. And also becoming aware of your vision, where you want to head, because if you don't know where you're heading, you can't really steer that energy towards like something that you want. So becoming aware of your vision and becoming aware of your current reality are really important keys to in this work. And then tension can actually resolve towards the higher pathway, towards your vision. So what's landing here? It says that somebody so far, what's landing for you? I'll stop share for a little bit.
Yeah, what you just said a minute ago, that for me actually that's true, that I lowered my vision. So I thought, then I'm just happy with the current reality. Yeah, and there was no growth or and I just told myself that it's good like that.
Yeah. So that's what most people do. They first of all, it's like desiring something. It's been drummed out of us since we were really young. I don't know about you, but I remember my mom, if I went for something that I wanted, or I took steps towards something I wanted, my mother told me that I was egocentric and I was always thinking about myself. And whoever asked you what you want? Like, like nobody really asked me, like, what do you actually really want? And all of life, even our whole educational system is designed to really follow rules and to not really think about yourself. And if you do want something, then it's maybe egocentric. So I certainly found it really, really challenging, when I started with this work 4 years ago or something, to actually really connect with, what do I actually want? But we're going to do all this. We're going to do this all together, because it is really important to know what you want, what you really want. And of course, the other side of the coin is, what is actually really your current reality? Like, what is it actually? Because you can't really go to another station if you don't know where you are at now. If you don't know where you are, like, how are you going to depart? So your current reality is also really important. And I'm not talking about kind of being a victim of your story. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, yeah, like, hey, what are the structures? How am I resisting change, and how am I resisting growth? And actually, I'm the one doing that, not somebody else. That's often the first step, because often we want to blame circumstances, of course. But really claiming that power back, like, okay, I'm in the driver's seat of my reality, and I'm going to just create it from my inner power. Yeah. So here are the two ways that you can resolve tension: along the higher pathway or along the lower pathway. And the lower pathway always means that you're creating the same old reality, same old, and you're not actually creating anything new. So the essence of this method is that we need to learn how to regulate our nervous system, and we are becoming self-awareness and self-regulation are at the essence of this method. Enhancing those thrive pathways so our brain can reorganize on a higher level of functioning. We need to show our nervous system that new experiences are safe. We need to learn to trust our inner intuitive guidance, and we have the courage to take action steps and engage in new experiences. And the first step, like I mentioned before, is where we really connect and imagine our vision and end result. What is it that your heart is longing for? And at the same time, acknowledge our present reality, and really just as it is. Connecting with the thoughts and emotions from our present reality. And with that, you actually release potential energy that is stored in your subluxated mind. And we can use that as fuel to drive our growth and expansion. And we take the next obvious action steps that we know as bridges to create our new reality. And I want to end this with this beautiful quote: "You never change anything by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." I'm trying to keep those masterclasses around an hour, because I know that people have, less and less time. So maybe we can have a little share before we hop off. Like, what is landing again? Simone, is there something landing for you?
Yeah, that my habits are so important for the energy and stuff. And I think I want to hear the whole thing again. Yeah, it's a lot. I understand it, most of it, but I don't. Yeah, I have to hear it again and think about my habits for me, because to stay in that energy, the higher energy. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
you it's like there's a few different ways that you can get energy, because energy, again, is the currency of the universe. We need energy, but you can get energy from, like I always say, that you've got like a little gold nugget stored in your body, and those gold nuggets are actually a potential energy source that you're not connected with, because they're kind of, your brain is literally not connected with those parts, because they're the parts of you that are stuck in trauma. So basically, the more trauma you have, the more potential energy you have.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to access that, and that's what I designed this method that we're going to learn. how to access that. So there's different ways of accessing. Of course, chiropractic care, we access those subluxations. They're basically subluxations. Sublux means underlighted. So your subluxations are areas of you that are not connected to your brain, and they change the whole structure of how you resolve tension. And by removing subluxations, you basically increase
Yes,
energy,
thank you.
right? Because with chiropractic also, like people, when we start removing those layers of subluxations, people feel more energized, and they're able to become more aware and live with more awareness, and they're able to self-regulate better. But those we can also do this through the mind. Like with chiropractic, we do it through the body. We use the body as a portal, but we can also use the mind as a portal to access those gold nuggets, which is basically subluxations, to dig, like have an energy source, because we need energy. So we're mining for energy here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Simona, for that.
Yeah, and something that also landed is that you can't amend an old model. Something, yeah, well, the Buckminster Fuller quote, that you actually have to build a new model, not kind of. And I think that I'm just kind of used to like trying to amend the model that I'm in, you know, and just do this and try that and go that way and go that way. But that keeps the oscillating structure in place. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And
And because those paths, sorry, yeah.
When the explanation of that you're in the middle of the room with these two elastic bands really, yeah, that really explains really the full day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it is that's I got that from Robert Fritz. Like the book is amazing. I love I base a lot of my work on that. And also what was I saying when you oh yes, so I always have to think about, you know, when you have a ski slope and you know, people ski along those paths of least resistance, basically, and it's really easy to kind of follow that same path because you've been doing that for years, and this is how habits are formed, basically. So these structures form habits, and this is the way you resolve tension. Like, for example, in a conversation, somebody says something, but I'm really used to, you know, not rock the boat and keep the peace and all of that. So I often say, you know, I say sorry a lot, for example. And every time I say it, I think, oh, I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say sorry. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that. But I said it again. But it starts with just becoming aware how you resolve tension and how you what structures you're in, basically. And you can always change them. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Actually, I think I opened up another practice session
Yes,
for
thank you.
Sunday, but let's see if we can do that, and if for this Sunday to open up a practice session again, because that was really great. I'm going to stop the recording for now.